Joining us today is a very special guest fighting in the UFC featherweight division. Has a fight coming up in March on the UFC 259 card. Aalon Cruz, how are you, my man?
Good, man. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I've got to ask, I know you're at the PI right now. How's Vegas?
Dude, Vegas is awesome, dude. I can't complain. I'm originally from Florida. I mean, I still live in Florida, but I'm out here doing my camp. And the difference is like the climate's dry out here. So, being in Florida, it's so humid. You walk outside and you're already sweating. There's mosquitoes. And when I come out here, it's kind of odd when people are like leaving their doors open because I'm used to like bugs and gnats and everything flying in, but there's nothing. So and then we're kind of like slight altitude, so that's another plus being out here. And then obviously having the PI here as a resource is it's irreplaceable.
Nice. And is it obviously because it's dry heat and is in Florida, as you said, it's humid. So what's the difference is that for training?
Yeah, so I mean, so the dry heat, I think just it's not that bad being outside. Like you could be outside and it's like 98 degrees here, and you might get a little bit of sweat on your brow. But in Florida, I mean, it's like in Florida, if it's like 78 degrees, you're soaked in sweat still. So it's nice to be able to walk outside even when the sun's out and not be drenched in sweat. And I think the cold is a little different here too. Like when it's 55 here, it's not that bad, but 55 back home, it really it hurts. Like it hits your bones. So to be honest, the dry climate's it's nice aside from like your lips cracking if you're not prepared for that.
Yeah, well, it must be in Florida. It must get colder because you're by the sea, surely.
By the sea, yeah, it's always really windy, but I think it's just you've got the moisture in the air, so when it's colder and you've got that moisture in the air, it
Mm.
just makes everything way colder than it is
I,
out here.
I always forget, is the sea where Florida is that the cold one or the warm one? I don't know.
Well, we're in the Gulf, so that's the warm ocean for sure.
Ah,
Like I'm from Tampa, and Tampa is right along the Panhandle, so the Gulf of Mexico is right there, and that's probably like the warmest water you're gonna find. And then once you go over to California on that side, that's the Pacific side. That's where the cold water's at.
crazy. And you, as I said, you're fighting in March. Your last fight was in February. Has this been your longest layoff in your career?
No, I've almost had like a 2 year layoff, and it was just I
Wow.
couldn't find nobody. Like I couldn't find people to fight. Like nobody wanted to fight, or people would back out last minute, or promotions would fall out, and I almost had a 2 year layoff, and that was actually my I lost that fight coming back. It took me, and it was a 5 round title fight,
Mm.
and it took me about 3 rounds to get used to being back in the cage again. So to be honest, once I fight March 6th, it'll only be about 7 days since my last fight, or a year, 7 days to a year after a year. I'm sorry, since my last fight. So it wouldn't be that bad. I end up fighting like 1 to 2 times a year. That's usually my average. I always plan on fighting like four. It just never works out.
Well, you mean you never know this year. I mean, 2020 has been crazy. 2021 could be even crazier. But as you said, you haven't fought in a while. So do you think because of that, is your training camp longer than usual?
Um, I came out here in July because after I fought, that was like one of the last cards that had a crowd, and then the lockdown happened, and so everybody didn't really know what was going on, like were the fights still going to happen, and then when the fights were starting to happen, I came out here to Vegas to because all the fights are going down at the PI for the most part, other than Fight Island. So to be closer to the PI and to where I'd be fighting at, and then having the PI as a resource was kind of like a no brainer. And I was out here since July, and I was here for 4 months trying to get a fight, and then I ended up not getting a fight. But then they scheduled me for March, so I was paying for a rental the whole time. So I just let my rental run out, and it was like December 12th, I think. And I went home for 3 weeks, back to Florida, and I drove my car back here to
Wow.
Vegas. So it was a 34-hour drive, but now I have my car, and then now I've got a nice 9 week camp, and so I'm just ready to go. Like everything's all it's like a big reset.
Yes, it sounds like what you're going to make off of this fight is going to be have to put back into petrol money. Clearly, that must have been
Dude,
expensive,
for
man.
real. Oh man, my credit card is not happy with me, but it'll be worth the sacrifice. And I get this win in March, I'll be able to pay everything off, and we'll be good to go.
Exactly, you'd be able to afford a couple of trips, surely.
Yeah, hopefully.
There you go. But with this fight and long layoff, has it sort of affected you mentally?
No, I got a good crew out here, and I think I've definitely jumped a couple of levels since being out here. Just being able to work with UFC fighters and Bellator fighters and ONE FC fighters like on the daily, every day, getting that grind in. Because back home, um, there's only two UFC fighters back in Tampa where I'm from. It's me and Billy
Mm.
Quarantillo, and we only train like once, maybe twice a week together. I have my own team. He has his own team. So, finding a lot of guys who all they do is fight and that's their main career and that's what they do, you don't really find that in Tampa. So out here in Vegas, everybody's a fighter, everybody's pro for the most part, and that's all they do is train and fight. So being out here has been huge, and it's been really good for my mindset as well. I think it's been helping me um, break through some more like mental toughness barriers, as well as like just getting in touch with like my meaner side, I guess.
That's good to hear, and I'd be excited to see that. And before I do get onto your fight, I want to talk about. Obviously, I've noticed that you do a lot of stuff on Twitch. You're part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going?
Dude, so for me personally, it's not going anywhere because where I'm staying at right now, my head coach, I'm staying at his house, and he has like a little casita in the back, so it's like a little room like in
Mm.
the backyard. So
Yeah.
like with the Wi-Fi that I'm able to pull into this room, it's a shed. I don't get a lot of Wi-Fi, so for me to play I play Call of Duty Warzone. That's my game that I play and stream. Um, I don't have the bandwidth to stream and play the game at the same time. So since I've been out here in Vegas, I haven't been able to stream at all. The
Oh,
only time I can stream is when I'm back home because then I'm wired up to the Ethernet, and I can stream on my phone and do all this stuff. So I still play COD with my Too Easy Gaming. That's my gaming group's Too Easy Gaming, and I play with all my Too Easy Gaming people, and they're all streamers. They're all affiliated, and they're all killing it right now. So anytime you see like on my Instagram, I'm sharing their stuff. Go check out their live stuff. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can for them, because they are my family too, until I'm able to get back, and then they're gonna push me.
how did you even get into it?
And into twitching,
Yeah.
dude, the Rona, man. I mean, like all we had to do all day was stay home, like when the gyms were locked down and everything, just like play video games all day. And it's like, all right, we can make some money,
Yeah.
playing video games while we're at home. So we all came together, the core Too Easy group, and we were just like, we're just gonna get to affiliate. So we really helped each other. So like when one was streaming, we'd all jump in their stream, we'd share it, be like, hey, go check out so and so, because there's like 4 different requirements to become an affiliate, and it's really hard to do, to be honest. Like to get like the average viewer is probably the hardest part. You need like 3 average viewers, which sounds small, but it's actually really hard to do. And then once you're affiliated, people can start subscribing to you, and that's where you start making money. And
Oh,
Twitch takes half of everything you make. So
oh, that
if you get
sucks.
$300 in subscriptions, for the month, you're getting 150, but still, I mean, you're getting paid to play video games. So, and then the next level is partner, and that's when you have like, I think like 100 viewers at a time or something like that. Like it's crazy. But after my fight, I'm definitely gonna like, push my Too Easy channel and really try and make some good money, playing video games on the side.
Would you ever consider streaming UFC?
UFC? Well, I don't play the game. I just
Oh,
don't, I personally don't like the game.
really?
I have a lot of friends that they play it and they love it. And I just, the only fighting games that I do like are Tekken and Fight Night. I used to love Fight Night when it was a big thing.
That's
Like
good.
boxing. That was like one of my favorite games. But other than that, the UFC game just never really interested me. And probably because I do it every day.
Yeah,
I'm just tired of seeing UFC stuff
that
and
is true.
people fight.
Yeah.
Like it's just not new for me. So You know what I would like to do
Well,
is like watch past fights and then like have people on my stream like interact with me and like ask me
that'd be
questions
cool.
about the fight, or just watch other fights, not even just my past fights but other fights, or have like a recap about my fight, like that type of stuff, so that I can kind of turn that into like a different avenue, I guess, for my channel. But yeah, but the UFC game is just not for me.
I
Not
mean,
yet,
if
at least.
I mean exactly, you never know. I mean, if you do get onto the game as a character, what would be your highest attribute?
Like the UFC doesn't know me very well, so they'll probably put it as striking. But I'm really like
The
a good
wrestling.
grappler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a wrestler and a grappler. That's my bread and butter. But me being long, tall, and lanky, people automatically throw you into the bin of a striker just because of your stature in general. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. As long as they don't jip me on like my attributes,
Yeah.
give me like 60s and some like and something, because I think
So
I'm pretty good at everything.
you never know. And I did forget to ask, what's your favorite Call of Duty ever?
My favorite Call of Duty ever.
Come on, there's only one
Man,
answer here.
but there's only one
Yeah.
answer.
Come on, yeah, sure.
I mean, if you want to go with the basic answer, it'd be Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, of course.
But that's a dope ass game. But Modern Warfare 1 though, like the ghillie suit level, dude, that was like probably my favorite level. Period. Just crawling around the ghillie suit, and then you got to snipe that. What's his name,
Yeah.
Takarov, and then you shoot his arm off. So you know what I'm talking about?
I never, I think I was too young for Modern Warfare 1. I think I really started on, I think I
Uh,
did World at War, that one where you have to, that starting
yep,
level when you're captured by Japan, you got to escape. I remember that with a Tommy gun, and then Modern Warfare
classic.
2, bread and butter. I
See ya.
remember that.
Yeah, that's a good one too. And that was the introduction of zombies, right? Wasn't World at
Yeah,
War the first zombie game?
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, zombies was
Damn.
dope. I like zombies too.
Zombies is pretty cool, man. And but before as I do want to get into a fight, I want to talk a bit about the Contender Series.
Okay.
And I heard recently Dana saying that everyone wants to put on the best fights there because it's like a job interview, so you want to show and do
Yep.
well. But I want to know behind the scenes, is this sort of a tense atmosphere with all the fighters around, or is it just like another fight?
Um. Yeah. So like, I don't know. It was kind of weird because like, so if I can just like walk you through the process of like how it was. So like we were there. This is all before the corona and lockdown stuff. So I don't
Yeah.
know what it's like now. But when I was there, you get to this hotel. Well, they send you out first like a few months before to do like the promo videos before the actual fight starts. So you go there, you go to Vegas for like a day or two, and they send you back home, and then you do your camp and you come back. And we're all put up in the same hotel, and you're walking around, and you might run into your opponent. You've got a bunch of the guys who are on your same colored team. Like for me, I think I had the gray shirt. Oh, mine was the brown shirt. The red corner was the blue shirts. And I was actually the only brown shirt that got signed that night, which is unfortunate. But they bring you down, and you're in the Contender Series outfit. So they take you out this back door of the hotel, and it felt like we're prisoners being transported to another prison, because we're all lined up in these jumpsuits, and they take us out the back so nobody can see us, and they put us in these buses, and then we head to the venue, so which is the Apex. We head to the Apex, and we're in this room. So you can sit wherever you want, but obviously, you know we sat at one table and our opponent sat at the other table, but they were like right there. It wasn't like we were separated or anything. You could see your opponent sitting right over there. And they basically they drug tested us right there and then before we fought. And then so then they break us up, and they set us all to different locker rooms, and you're sharing a locker room with another person. So I was with Maria Agapova. She was in my room,
Mhm.
and it was just me and her, and we had this locker room to ourselves. And they've got like it's like the best locker room I've ever been in for a pro fight, to be honest. There was like body armors everywhere. There's water, there's fruit, padded walls, and the floors are padded, big bathroom and everything. You've got a commission guy sitting right there waiting for you to get your hands wrapped. And they got a big TV, so if you want to watch the fights, and they have the fights up there. And I was just trying to chill in the back. It wasn't like, I don't know. These days I don't really get like anxious or like nervous for
Mm.
fights. Like on fight day, I'm usually just like, or I shouldn't say on fight day. I do feel anxious, but once I get to the venue, I'm pretty chill. Like I'm just like, all right, just gonna go out there, we're gonna do some work. It's another day in the office, and so like I don't really feel tense. And I mean, I don't know how else the other people felt, but I felt all right. And it was cool that it's like a whole show. Like they're like, all right, they're videotaping me and like, you're gonna do some shadow boxing, and they're like, just do whatever you want to do. And they're like videotaping us. And then when you're about to go on, they're like, all right, you're going on in 2. And so you're standing by the door and they're waiting. And then when it's your time to walk out, they open the door and there's cameras right here, and they follow you down this hallway, and you go all the way to the big double doors that they always push
Yeah.
open. So you're right there, but like the double doors are here to your right, and then right in front of you there's a TV, and so you're watching your promo video that you did and talking about the fight and whatever for the first time. You've never seen it, and then they're counting you down. They're like, all right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then you go through the door. It's fairly quiet in there. At the time, there was a small crowd. It was only like friends and family.
Mm.
So, the only people that were clapping for you are your friends if they made it, or if they were allowed, if you had enough tickets. And then that was it, dude. And then, you're fighting in front of the boss, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard's there, Dana's there. I didn't really pay attention to them, but I knew that they were behind me in my corner. And then that was it, dude. And then we fought. Like I had a blast in that fight. It was such a fun fight. It's probably one of my favorite fights to date.
Yeah, and you had that amazing flying knee finish. And I want to know, is that something that you'd planned, or it's just sort of like a spur of the moment, like, oh, fuck it, might as well?
It's kind of both. It was like, so if when you watch the fight, I actually hit that flying knee in the second round.
Mm.
Uh, I hit him with a teep and pushed him all the way across the cage, and then he came forward back at me pretty quickly, and I threw the flying knee and it hit him. It hit him right in the jaw. He went, and he just grabbed my leg, and then he didn't go out. We kept fighting, and I was like, damn, what am I have to hit this kid with to put him down? And but I do drill flying knees all the time. My coach
Mm.
ended up sending me the video, and he posted it later too. Like I think we posted like a month later. It was us in the hotel room the morning of the fight, drilling the flying knee. Like we were doing mitts, flying knee, 1, 2, 3, flying knee. And I do that. I do that stuff all the time too while I'm doing mitt work, in the gym. I'm always throwing flying knees just because, like, I think it's just a good thing to have. I don't want to say it's like a trump card, but it's kind of like a really devastating blow that you can have in your back pocket just to throw out there just whenever you feel like it.
A
If the
game
opportunity
changer.
presents itself, a game changer, right? And even if you don't finish the guy, you might hurt him, and then now you can lead to a fight or get you in a better position. So at that point, when I hit him within the third round, it was like 30 seconds left, and he was being really aggressive and coming forward because his coach is yelling at him, Steve, want to keep pushing forward in a short time. And you could feel the crowd was kind of getting like really hyped up too at the same time. And he just kept pushing forward and super aggressive. That's his style, and it works for him. And I remember I was southpaw, and then he was coming forward, and I just stepped ortho for a second, and then just threw it from there. Like I don't do any kind of wind up when I throw my knee, so I don't think you'd really see it coming, unless like you see me fight a bunch of times and you know exactly when I'm going to throw it. But it's kind of like, in that moment, like you said, it's kind of like, well, I've thrown everything. I've kicked him in the face. I've punched him in the face. I've kneed him in the face, and he still hasn't gone down. There's 30 seconds left. The fight's kind of close. So let me just throw this again and not necessarily see what happens, but like if I hit him and I hurt him, great. If I hit him, knock him out, whatever. If I miss, then we're just going to keep fighting. And obviously it landed perfectly. He went down. And I remember it was funny because when I hit him, I it was like all in slow motion. So I hit him, And I was like, oh man, he just ate it. He's just gonna grab my leg and hold me. And then he started falling back. And I was like, oh man, I was like, he might be hurt. And then he actually hit the ground. And I was like, he might be out. But I was like, I need to jump on top and finish him because I didn't want him to get back up. You know what I mean? And then I jumped on top, threw a few punches, and then that was it. And then I didn't even plan to turn to Dana and like give him the little signature sign. I just, on the spur of the moment,
Yeah.
my mind and my body took over and just turned like directly to him and knew where he was at and was like this, and he threw it back at me. It was like, yeah, and I was like, yes. So that was it, man. It was dope.
That's pretty cool. Do you think you would have preferred that format to fighting on The Ultimate Fighter?
Oh, 100%. I always say I don't want to do the Ultimate Fighter.
Hmm.
It seems like the hardest, just worst way to get into the UFC because even if you get into the house and win maybe like one fight after that, you're still not guaranteed to fight in the UFC. Like you're not when you're in the Ultimate Fighter, you're not in the UFC unless you win the show
Hmm.
or they bring you back for like an undercard fight on like the finale or something like that. So, and you're being locked up in a house with a bunch of weird ass dudes, and for 3 months or
Yeah,
whatever.
pissing
You're
on your fruit
fighting,
and all of that.
yeah, exactly, like some weirdos, and then you're fighting so often and without your coaches, without your
Hmm.
teammates, guys that like you necessarily can't really trust because they're trying to win the same thing you're trying to win.
Hmm.
So, you don't know what their intentions are if they're really trying to help you get, ready for your fight and whatnot. So I don't know. I've seen so many people go on the Ultimate Fighter and just and maybe win a fight or so and still not get in the UFC. And I just don't. That just doesn't seem like the route. At least like the Contender Series, you get a chance to like show out on a card, and then if you win, that's your chance to show Dana like, hey, let me in, like sign me now because now you know what I can do, and then you either gonna get signed that night or not, and then you can go find on regional shows or whatever if you don't get signed.
Hmm. Yeah, and looking at your division, the featherweight division, a lot of guys in that division, like Cater Holloway, apart from the champ, you've got Brian Ortega, they're quite tall, rangy guys, and you're 6 foot. So going into
Mhm.
this fight in general and looking at your division, does that kind of give you more of an advantage or even more confidence being like, I've got the style tailored for this division?
Well, I'm actually going up in weight for my next fight, so I'm going
Oh,
up to lightweight because I'm fighting Uros Medic. He came out the
yeah.
Contender Series as well. So it's funny because we're the same height. Well, I think he might be 6'1" or 6 foot. I'm 6 foot, so either he has an inch on me or we're the same height. I don't know. But even at lightweight, well, at featherweight for sure. I mean, mostly everybody was shorter than me. Although Stephen Wynn on the Contender Series, he was 5'11", so I mean, it wasn't like he was that short. But yeah, the range definitely plays a part. Most of my career, the guys I've been fighting have been like 5'8", 5'9". I fought a dude who's 5'7", and I have like a 79-inch reach. So just keeping them on the end of my punches and the end of my kicks is just a huge advantage. And even at the lightweight division, not everybody's tall. There's a lot of shorter guys like Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler's a short 55er. I'm trying to think who else. Khabib's not that tall. Khabib's like
Yeah,
5'8",
5'8",
5'9".
yeah.
I've
Connor.
met Connor here at the PI. He's not that tall. So, even at 55, I have a good frame. It works out well for me. So now I don't have to like drain myself to get to 45 because 45 is such a hard cut for me as is. And I'm just really hoping that like, not having to cut those extra 10 pounds and being able to be able to put a little bit of muscle on is going to pay off in the end. And just it's healthier in general.
Yeah. And like you said, you're fighting Udos Medic. I hope I pronounced that right. I hope I didn't
Yeah.
butcher it. And I mean, he's undefeated, but do you know anything about him? What can you tell me about him, his style?
Yeah. So, I mean, so he's Serbian. He's from Alaska, but I think he's doing his training camp at King's MMA right now.
Mm.
Um, he has a kickboxing background. He's 6-0, like I said. I've seen his fights, and it just seems like he kind of just overwhelms his opponents. I don't think his opponents were like at the same caliber, so he kind of just starts throwing, and they just kind of wilter most of the time. But he likes using his kicks. He's tall, he's lanky like me. He has I think I want to say he has a probably a decent ground game. I've seen like some videos of him like working on his jujitsu, doing his jujitsu and stuff. I'm not sure about his wrestling. I feel like his wrestling is probably his weakest suit out of anything, but it's also hard to tell with him because he has this unknown factor because out of his 6 fights, he's only gone to the second round one time, I believe. I think he's finished all of his fights in the first round. And I know he makes it a thing that he doesn't want to go past the second round. So, he's making his UFC debut, he might either still stick by that and come out super aggressive, or maybe he's going to be a little more experienced and a little more patient, right? Not trying to run into something and be too crazy. It just depends, I guess, on the feeling of the fight when it happens. I'm definitely going to try and push the pace and make him work. So that's pretty much what I know. But mainly, the big thing is me just focusing on what I do best and making the attributes that I have better. And that's just what I've been doing out here in Vegas.
As you said, an undefeated guy, UFC debut, long layoff for you. It's just a perfect way to make a statement.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait because it's not the first undefeated fighter I've fought. Stephen Wynn was 6-0 on the Contender Series. I was the first person to beat him and finish him, and I'm looking to do the same thing with Uros. March 6th. Make a statement and let the UFC know, like, yeah, maybe I lost my debut. It is what it is for that fight, but I am here to stay, and I am dangerous. And you give me this young undefeated guy, and I'm gonna put him into the ground, and keep working my way up the ladder.
I love to hear it, man. And I've got to ask you, a lot of good lightweight fights happening and lots of good fights happening in general. And I really want to know your predictions for both Cater Holloway and McGregor Poirier.
So normally I don't make predictions, but
Oh,
for Calvin Cater Holloway, I've got Calvin Cater by knockout in the third round.
wow.
I love Max. I love Max. I'm a huge fan of Max, but I just feel like Cater is just a little. His hands are a little better. He has a little more power. He's a little bigger,
Hmm.
and the way that he put down Shane Burgos when they fought, like Hurricane Shane has a super tough chin. Like nobody puts Shane down. Like even Josh Emmett, him with his hardest overhands, it couldn't knock him out. And Calvin Cater did it. I mean, hit him with a 1-2, step back, uppercut, and finished him. So I think that power is going to come into play. And then with Connor and Dustin, I love Dustin too, but I think Connor finishes him faster than they did the first fight. And it's not just because Connor came out saying 60 seconds
Hmm.
recently. I mean, Mr. Mac is in rare form. When Mr. Mac says something, it usually comes true, which is funny. But I just don't like if Dustin gets hit anywhere near as much as he did when he fought Dan Hooker, any of those shots, like Dan Hooker clearly can't hit as hard as Connor. Like if Connor hits him clean with his left hand or whatever he hits him with, Dustin just can't take that many shots from Connor. Like he just hits different. And like I said, I just think he finished him faster this time.
What's more deadly, Connor's left hand or your flying knee?
I think my flying knee puts down anybody if it lands correctly. Connor's
Love it.
left hand, he couldn't put down Nate Diaz, or he hurt him, but he couldn't knock him out. But for sure, if I hit my flying knee on Nate Diaz, I'll knock him out.
There you go. Final question. It's my favorite question. I love to ask this. There's been talks of fighting in Rome in the Colosseum for the UFC going there. And I want
Oh
to
wow.
know if we're 2000 years back in time and you have to fight in the
Mm-hmm.
Colosseum, what's your weapon of choice and why?
My weapon of choice, it'd probably be like a short sword of some
Mm,
sort, not like a dagger or anything long, but something that I can like be agile with and like have a lot. Because I want something that like it's gonna take dexterity, like something that's fast, but it also has killing blows. Because if you get some close to somebody in like most fights, you're gonna get pretty close to them. So a long sword is gonna be kind of pointless at that point, right? And then a
mm.
dagger, God forbid, they have some type of long weapon. Now you're at a real disadvantage. So it'd be like a short sword.
Well, someone comes at you with a huge like battle axe or something? It's gonna be hard to get out of
If
the way of
a
that.
battle axe, you got one chance. If you miss, you're dead.
Well, that's what Matt Favola chose. He chose a little axe.
The
So
battle axe.
yeah, you're gonna have to tell it. You're gonna have to have a word with them on
I
that.
mean, Steamroller, he's a big dude, so maybe he can swing it around faster. I don't know. Maybe spin and do like a tornado spin. I don't know. I just feel like if you miss, like that's your vulnerable spot. Now, obviously, if you hit with that, like that's a one hitter quitter.
Exactly. And the floor is yours if you want to shout out any sponsors, shout out anyone. You're more than welcome to.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah, man. Just a shout out to my team back home, Team Def War. Coach Daniel, my wrestling coach Mama Goma, my strength and conditioning coach back home, Freddie. My strength and conditioning coach here, Matt Crawley. He's been a huge help. All the PTs here at the PI, they're all a big help. Basically, everybody at the PI, man, they're all super helpful. They've been making my camp way easier than it normally is. Nicole Lai has been running my nutrition program, and she keeps me from getting too fat, in between camps and leading up to the fight. Angry Elephant Tattoos, Gene Farmer, he's one of my biggest supporters back home. He helps me out in very huge ways, and I probably wouldn't be able to be out here or even like support myself as a fighter if it wasn't for him. So he's a huge supporter. Trying to think. Oh, Farm CBD. They're actually one of my first sponsors, like that I got after the Contender Series. If you go on their website and you use Mighty Cruise 20, you get 20% off of any of their CBD products. They're always doing BOGOs, buy one get ones. They have pet CBD. They have a CBD lotion, which is great. So yeah, that's what I really think of right now.
Perfect.